Hey, Guy, what's happening?
I know you got something on your mind. I
I
can
was
tell
just going
already.
to ask you if you're going to be able to field the full team tonight. I mean, seeing as
Who's we?
all,
When you say we, who do you mean by we?
your New York
Oh,
Yankees,
the
and I'm
Yankees.
yeah,
Okay.
and I'm talking about look, I mean, Mr. All Rise, one of the worst nicknames, by the way, in sports. Is obviously not suiting up.
Mm-hmm.
Will we actually ever see Glaber Day this year? And even though it's a week away, so you tell
Mm-hmm.
me what's
Mm-hmm.
going
Mm-hmm.
on.
That's fair. No, listen. I think Glaber is probably working that hammy or whatever he tweaked. Probably see him
When they're working
mid-September.
a hammy, what are they doing, by the way?
I don't know what goes on. This is what I do know. The Yankees,
Right.
it's all about you can put on the field, doesn't matter. Because once you put on not that I would know this, but once you put on the pinstripes,
The uniform. Oh, stop.
You become
Please.
okay.
Putting on
Stop.
the pinstripes is one of these euphemisms that is the most absurd thing. Like it's akin to, actually going to Mecca or something, dude. Come on.
You say that as a Met fan, lowercase m. Listen, last night we promised the people some of the great nicknames in
That is
sports. Good. You got any for me? Because I got a few. If you don't,
yeah,
I
got a few.
Go ahead. What do you got?
First of all, my Mets have not been afraid of a nickname or two. I mean, let's start right away with Thor. I mean, a strapping man who happens to be one of the better pitchers when he's healthy. So I mean, baseball's like going back to the classic days of baseball. When I read books, and I read books about the former stars and the splendid Splinter, Mr. Ted Williams, or the Yankee Clipper, who was really kind of his peer at that time. I mean, those were romantic nicknames, and I think befit kind of the greatness of the men. I don't know about today. But,
so as I say for the 1,000th time, I hate the Mets, but one of the great nicknames in sports, John the Hammer Milner.
Yeah, the Hammer.
The Hammer was a great nickname.
Yeah, I thought you were going to refer to also actually. Well, there's a couple going over to my O's. So the reliever that was effectively the closer for the O's in the late '70s was Don Full Pack Stanhouse.
Sure.
And it was full pack because Earl Weaver smoked a full pack of cigarettes in the dugout when he pitched. But
he put people on base, but he got the job done. So, but some of my favorite nicknames are not necessarily in baseball, although Dave the Cobra Parker. The Cobra is just fantastic.
What does that mean, by the way? Why would you see the Cobra? What do you think?
Does it matter? Does it really matter? He's a Cobra.
He was definitely. He was bad. He was badass.
He was a bad man. I love that.
Who else you like?
So my favorite. So the Iceman, the Mailman, Karl Malone, but Stu Grimson, who played hockey, was one of the enforcers. The Grim Reaper is the best nickname of all time.
That might be the great because when Stu was coming your way, it might have meant death. Speaking of that, I mean, I love the hitman Thomas Hearns. I mean, I think boxers by definition have to almost have that nickname. You've got Marvin Webster, which we talked about, the human eraser.
Yeah.
So all right. So when we think about really, Facebook, I mean, Facebook essentially is the nickname for social media, right?
Yeah,
maybe that's a bad segue, but let's talk about it because Facebook's on a tear. Normally very critical of Facebook for a lot of different reasons. I don't think it's going to change for me based upon this, but stock's gone from 230 to 280 in the month of August when all we've done is talk about Apple and every other tech company.
Yeah.
What's up?
But you've also acknowledged the fact that they seem to be impervious to all these negative headlines, and you've said it for a while. And I know what I've said in terms of I hate everything about Facebook from the platform to a lot of different things. But one thing we've said for a while is you can't not like the stock. And you go back to, and it's important to mention this, in the beginning of June is when a lot of the advertisers pulled, and then I think it was June 25th or thereabouts. Procter & Gamble said they were pulling. And on June 26th, the stock traded down to 206 intraday and then closed higher on the day. And we talked about it on the show that night. We said, there you go. Facebook just showed its hand. Probably got to buy the stock here. And now here we are at 283, wherever you are. UBS put a $330 price target on it, and it's probably headed that way. It doesn't make me happy, but you have to admit that the stock is impervious. Now, I'll mention this, and I think you may agree, the existential risk outside advertisers, if ESG investing ever rears its head in terms of Facebook, the party is over, because we've seen it in energy. We talked about Exxon yesterday. And if that somehow comes to pass in Facebook, Katie barred the door. But short of that, party's on in terms of Facebook.
I do think you've got a case here for no matter what happens to Facebook, it is still the social media platform of the world. And we know whether it's, I mean, how many people are walking the planet, dude? And they've got it, you know, they've got 2 point, I don't even know what the numbers are.
I think they have 28% of the planet or right? I mean, it's a ridiculous number in terms of, you know, their exposure into the global population. It's remarkable.
And as much as we hear about, you know, Apple's onerous, oppressive pricing policy on the application store, as you like to refer to
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's really Facebook that, and leave aside whether they should be vilified or not for their policy on privacy and whatnot, but it's what they do. And essentially, they are the kingmaker or not for small and medium-sized businesses. It's just how it is. I know people that are largely either have some type of an online business, and if they're not in the good graces of Facebook, they're toast. So Facebook, to me, is really that much more at the crosshairs of, I think, a lot of this antitrust stuff, even though we don't really talk about it in that context. But make no mistake, this shops business that they're rolling out at a time when a lot of small and medium-sized businesses were closed, and some still cannot open their doors. This is actually a huge opportunity. Think of all the opportunities created by COVID-19, and for Facebook, who probably been working on this for a long time, this is totally complementary to essentially how they are in business for small business.
And as Brian Kelly mentioned on the show tonight, I know that I'm gonna go there now and probably pick up one of my brokinis for not this season, because the season is winding down.
Have you ever worn a brokini? Seriously, I mean, you know, there might have been a reason. Is there any truth to that?
No. I mean, I've worn spandex numerous times, but brokini,
why have you worn Manx? So you've worn Manx?
No, I didn't say Manx. You said that. You said that.
Why
I
would
said
you be wearing
spandex. Because you get on the bike shorts and all those different things.
A little tummy bulge that you're trying to.
You know what? By the way, for the folks playing at home, there are two Martys that come to mind in the National Hockey League. The obvious one is Marty Brodeur.
Yeah.
The other one is Marty McSorley. So
I was going to say McSorley, who we called Cement Head, actually.
Sure, we did.
I mean, I don't know if that was a fair nickname, but.
And I don't know if either one of them were calling you, but I mean, I digress. So
well, look,
we should,
as we take it out here, there's probably 6 dudes that went for the nickname with the closer as the Terminator, and played Enter Sandman. Who's your favorite closer of all time?
Come on, that's why do you even go there? I mean, there's only one closer of all time. And
it's not Jerry's familiar?
The pinstripes.
Armando Benitez.
It's amazing how guys come to the Mets. Billy Wagner probably was the best closer in the National League for years, came to the Mets, and he was another guy that just put gas on the fire. I mean, something about putting on that orange and blue with that dopey apple behind you that just turns you into shit. And I said that.
I'm going to leave you. Obviously, I hit the nerve. So Mariano Rivera is one of the great athletes of all time, not only for what he did on the field, but how he's conducted himself off the field. And unlike you, who spews hate at the opposition, I actually can recognize greatness and goodness all at the same time. But Goose Gossage is a big fan of this show. And I don't think he's going to take kindly to the fact that you, as the Yankee fan, are basically icing him right now. In fact, you might as well be, you know, Sparky Lyle getting called for the lefty instead of the Goose, man. So
listen, we'll talk about the Goose Lyle years maybe tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm giving you a hashtag LGM. That's just for you.
Good night.